look what I've got. Hi, this is Grandma C, and I've got a beetle here with me today. I can blow on him, and he kind of shuts up, and sometimes he makes little squeaky noises when I blow on him. But I've got a big problem. My problem is I don't know what to feed him. I found him last week, and I've tried feeding him hamburger. He just walked all over it. I tried giving him carrot juice, and he just walked right through it. And I think he's hungry. Sometimes I wonder if he eats dirt. I'm not really sure what he eats. And I'm afraid he's going to die. That's my problem. If I could just, how can I know what he would eat? I guess if I would become a beetle, I could ask him what he would want to eat. But then if I became a beetle, I would know what he would want to eat because I would be hungry for that too. Oh, gross. What if it were worms and ant parts? That's what it said on the internet. I didn't have any ant parts to feed him. So, hey, let's imagine for a minute. Let's imagine for a minute that this beetle is in danger of destruction. The home where he's living is going to be dug up, and that home is going to be destroyed, and I need to go down and become a bug and tell him his home is going to be destroyed. Your home is going to be destroyed. See, he's not listening. He can't really hear me. I need to become a beetle. What if I could become a beetle and go down and tell him his home was going to be destroyed and that I have a much better place for him to live? It would be wonderful. Well, let's just see. Let's imagine. So now I'm a beetle, and I'm going to go up to him and tell him, your home is going to be destroyed, and I'm going to move you to another place that's really, really cool. It's going to be made out of gingerbread. You're going to have a gingerbread house. So a little neighborhood here. Yes. What do you think, buddy? Do you like it? What do you think? Oh, I don't know if he's impressed or not. I don't think he knows what it is. Maybe I would have to turn myself down into a beetle, and so I could go talk to him. Hey, buddy, I've got some news to tell you. Your home is going to be destroyed. Oh, dear. I don't think he's even listening to me. Okay, let's see. I've got to do some thinking. In order to get this beetle to listen to me, I need to do something. I need to give him a sign, to show them that I have superbug powers, that I'm not just a beetle, that I am something kind of special, that when I say I came from the house up on the hill and I've got a nice soft bed to sleep in at night, so he'll believe me. So maybe I could do something like give him a year's supply of food when I find out what he likes to eat. That would be cool. I could say, Mr. Beetle, you tell me where you want your year's supply of food put, and I will put it there. And then I could have my husband put a year's supply of ant parts there or something. That would convince him, right? Well, oh no. He already dug into the dirt. I'm not sure what would convince him. Maybe how many signs would I have to do before he would believe me? Maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 6 or 7. Oh, maybe I need to get a light and have my husband shine like a flashlight and I can say, all right, in 5 seconds, there's going to be a bright light shining on you. Hey, maybe he would believe that. Maybe I could come up with enough signs. Maybe you could think of some signs. What could we tell Mr. Beetle? So he would believe me that I'm not really a beetle, that I'm really a human in a beetle body, and that I have super beetle powers. I would just have to prove that to him, and I would have to give him those signs. Well, that's what a sign, yes, that's what we'll have to do. Signs. That's what we were talking about. To make that beetle believe that I was a beetle, we would have to show him some signs. Do you know in the book of John, Jesus shows us some signs? I bet that sounds interesting to you. Let's go there. John 2, verse 1. On the third day, there was a wedding at Cana in Galilee. On the third day. The third day after what? Well, that was the third day after Jesus found Philip to be his disciple, and Philip brought Nathanael, and now those two are disciples of Jesus, along with Andrew and Simon Peter that came the day before. So we're talking about the very first week when Jesus was announced to the world that he was the Messiah. At this point in time, just a handful of people knew, but he had some disciples with him. So that's where the story takes place, in the very first week that Jesus was announced to the nation of Israel that he was the Messiah and to the world. So on the third day, there was a wedding at Cana in Galilee. Oh, weddings. I love weddings. I told you I love weddings. This was the wedding of my daughter, Elizabeth, to Daniel. Look how happy they are. Weddings are times of joy. Whoa, lots of planning goes into a wedding. You pick a gorgeous dress. Ooh, you get yummy food to eat. Of course. Well, let's see. My son got married. Oh, don't they look happy? I want to show you something really fun on this page. You see that sword? That's his marine sword. And here he is cutting the cake with his marine sword. Wow, ooh, look at the yummy food and the bouquet of flowers. Oh, weddings are wonderful. And family comes. Yeah, everyone comes to celebrate. Well, there's been one more wedding at my house. My daughter got married. She got married outside. Wow, that was really cool. We planned so much for her wedding. It was special. And we had a friend make a program. I still like to look back and think of all the things that happened at her wedding. But what I really like to remember the most is her family, his family, came a week early, and we spent the week together, like a whole week of wedding. And we went to the mountains with them, and we got to know them. It was wonderful. Weddings are just a time of joy, a time for family, a time of planning. Well, before I leave, I want to show you one more wedding picture. Now, you have to promise not to laugh. This is a wedding picture of Grandma C and Grandpa. Ah, there we are. That's a long time ago. This year, it'll be 40 years. That's pretty cool. I love weddings, and I'm not the only one that loves weddings. God loves weddings. He started them. And Jesus loves weddings because his first sign was at a wedding. I want to tell you about it. On the third day, there was a wedding at Cana in Galilee. And the mother of Jesus was there. Oh, a guest list. That's what's coming next. Mary has been invited. Verse 2 said, Jesus was invited also to the wedding with his disciples. The disciples were invited also. Now that's not surprising because Nathanael was from Cana. He was from the same city that the wedding was in. See, Cana and Nazareth were really close to each other. So the people that lived in Cana, some people believe that it was a tiny town, maybe of just 25 people. And Nazareth was also a very small town compared to our towns, but it was much bigger than Cana. It was probably about 500. That's what they feel like, that there were 500 at the town at that time. But they were next to each other. So it's very possible that the disciples and Jesus and the groom that was getting married knew each other because their families lived in the same place year after year after year, and they knew each other really well, probably went to the same synagogues and shopped in the same markets together. So you have this guest list. Mary is there, Jesus is there, the disciples are there, everybody's there. Like a wedding was the most exciting thing that happened around then in that tiny little town. And let me tell you, customs were a little bit different then. I need to tell you how they were different. The bridegroom paid for the wedding. For a whole year before the wedding, he was working really hard and making money, and he was preparing a place for his bride. And then he was working really hard to pay for a feast because when people came to the wedding, sometimes they stayed a week. And it was the bridegroom's job to prove to the dad of this bride, that he could provide for his daughter and he would pay for this great big feast. So this was a really big, really special occasion. There's a problem. And Mary finds out about it. I don't know how, but moms have a way. They find out about the problems. And she found out about the problem. They ran out of wine. Shh. They don't want everybody to know that. Like it would really look bad on the groom. It would be a horrible shame to him. And Mary knew what to do. Jesus was beginning to tell people that he was the Messiah, the Son of God. He had some disciples now. Why, maybe it was time for him to do something. So Mary went straight to Jesus. She knew who to go to when she had a problem. And she said to him, "They have no wine." Jesus looked at her and he said, "Woman, what do I have to do with that? What do you have to do with that? It's not my hour. It's not my time." Mary heard what he said. But you know what she did? She went straight to talk to the servants. And she said to them, "You see that man over there, my son Jesus? If he tells you to do something, do it. Exactly what he says, you do it." And the servants, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, we'll do that. And then she left. So do you think Jesus is going to obey what his mother said and do what his mother said? Absolutely not. At this point in Jesus' life, he was a grown man and he was on his mission, and he only listened to his father, his true father, who was God. Joseph was his adopted father. At this point in his life, he was not living under Mary's roof, and he was not obeying what Mary told him to do. So I'm sure he talked to his father, and his father said, "Take care of the problem." So Jesus is going to take care of the problem. He looks around and he sees 6 stone water pots. Now let me describe these water pots. Okay, big, tall. I don't have anything in my house that is as big as these water pots. They held 20 to 30 gallons of water. Now, sometimes I go to the store and get a 5-gallon jug of water, and it weighs 40 pounds, and I can hardly carry it. But 20 to 30 pounds? Let's see. The only thing in my house that could hold 20 or 30 pounds would be my bathtub. Yeah, if you could bring out a stone water pot as big as a bathtub, and there's 6 of those, Jesus saw those, and he called the servants over, and he said, "Fill these water pots." So the servants came, and they filled the water pots. Wow, he told them to fill it to the brim. Look at that. They filled it to the brim. I guess they were doing exactly what he said. And then he gave them another command, and he said, "Draw out this water and take it to the master of the feast." So the servants drew out the water. And they poured it out. What? That's not water. And they took it to the master of the feast. Oh. And they took it to the master of the feast. And when the master of the feast tasted the wine, ooh, that's really good. Where did that come from? He didn't know. The servants knew. The disciples knew where it came from, but he didn't know where it came from. He didn't know that there were 6 huge water pots full. I'm sure the servant tapped him on the shoulder and told him, "There's 6 water pots full of that." This was the first sign that Jesus did. It was kind of a private sign. His disciples knew, a handful of people knew. I'm sure other people heard very soon after that. But the Bible tells us that when Jesus did this sign to show that he had superhuman powers, his disciples believed. Well, I thought they believed before when they spent time with him and they told everyone he was the Messiah. They did. But when they saw this sign, they believed even deeper. And as we go through the book of John, we're going to find that Jesus gives them more and more and more to help them have a deeper belief. But we'll have to wait for that part for just a minute. Fully God, fully man, that's the truth we must understand. Son of God, Son of man, Jesus came, God's rescue plan. Fully God and fully man. So do you see that sign? That sign pointed to the fact that Jesus is more than a human. He is superhuman. He is the Son of God. The disciples believed it. Do you believe that? Well, let's keep reading in John and let's see if our faith can get stronger too. Now, let's sing the song that we learned last week about the lamb. Count to 4 twice with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. God spoke to Israel, bring me a sacrifice, morning and evening, every day. Offer a spotless lamb without a blemish. This is my command, you must obey. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.